I'm Molly Line in for Harris Faulkner, and this is the Fox Report. Senator Bernie Sanders, now the Democratic frontrunner in New Hampshire. In the latest NBC Marist poll, 41% of voters favor him for the party's presidential nomination. Hillary Clinton has 32%, and Vice President Joe Biden has 16%. The Fox News political insiders are here, and you can join the conversation on our Twitter pages, #FoxReport. John Leboutiller, former Republican congressman from New York. Pat Caddell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor. And Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor as well, of course. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight, gentlemen.
Great to be here.
I'm excited to be here, too. Well, let's kick it off with Bernie Sanders is pulling ahead right now. This is New Hampshire. These are people that really care about their politics. They pay attention. They're really informed. So at this point in time, should the Clinton campaign be concerned about what's happening?
In a
Doug?
word, yes. Look, I've worked with the Clintons. I worked with Bill Clinton for 6 years. And let's be candid. Hillary is 9 points behind in New Hampshire.
11 without Biden.
11 without Biden. In Iowa, she is down at 38% in a three-way race. Sanders is at, 27 or thereabout?
Yeah, it's a 20-point shift.
It's a 20-point shift, and Biden is at 20. Molly, these numbers are perilous for the former Secretary of State. Sure, there was an article today in the New York Times saying that her firewall is the South. She's got to get past these two primaries, but she's got to get past them. And if she gets beaten decisively, as could happen, I emphasize could, it could be a complete change.
Yeah, and could be worth noting that she won in 2008 there, eked out a win over then President Obama, and it's always been thought that Clinton has this, the Clintons themselves both have a strong organization there, it's always been thought.
Well, remember they were going to take Iowa too, and then New Hampshire. She won New Hampshire because Obama had won Iowa. I want to tell you something. She loses these two first contests. All of this talking, they're blowing past themselves, the graveyard, this notion of, we'll win it in Super Tuesday. We'll shut this down. They are playing by rules that no longer exist.
Now, what do you think about that, John, this idea that possibly the Clinton campaign may have a Southern strategy and they might be focusing on some of those later contests instead of the first two in Iowa and New Hampshire?
Historically, I agree. If she loses Iowa and New Hampshire, she's not making it. I don't think she's making it anyway. She has the stench, her campaign does, of a slow political death going on, bit by bit by bit. Pat, every week, has been bringing up the numbers, the metastasizing cancer in her base, which is part of the reason, not all of it, that Bernie's doing well, but the passion in that party mirrors the passion in the Republican Party for someone new. They don't want the Clintons and Bushes anymore.
And look, those numbers with her losing to Trump in several of the national polls,
it's going to worry them.
And Biden doing better. I'm telling you, these are going to get worse.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Republicans, we have another poll, this one from NBC Marist. It's about Iowa and what the potential GOP caucus goers are thinking there. Trump gets the support from 29% there. Ben Carson getting 22%. Bush, Fiorina, Walker, Paul, they fall into the single digits after that. What do you think when you look at this? These are the two outsiders.
That was what I was going to speak to. Let's focus on the big picture here. Trump plus Carson is 51. If you add in Fiorina, that's 56%. Jeb Bush is at 6%. And I want to underscore that for the viewers. 6%. Scott Walker, who was the front runner a couple of months ago, 5%. There is a loud message here. It's something that Pat and John have been underscoring. But the Republican electorate is very angry. They want fresh faces. They're voting assertively for people with no experience. And they're saying to those who've been governors of states, no, we don't want what you're offering.
So is this the year of the political outsider?
Oh, no, not only the outsider. This is a year of political revolution. I listen to these pundits. First of all, by the way, all the pundits in Washington who have no clue what's going on, they're in a panic. They have no clue what's going on. They said, when Donald Trump gets down to one opponent. So one of the polls here tested Bush against Trump alone. Trump beat him by 19 points. He was beating everybody else except, I think, Cruz by 20, and then he was losing, by the way, to Carson. But none of the insiders, all the people with the political consultants running the typical political consultant campaigns, it's what happened to Walker, who started off on with support because he was the outsider in Wisconsin, has made himself an insider, and look where he's gone. Rubio, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, how about this number that Pat keeps bringing up when we meet? that when asked, which do you want? Someone who's had some government experience who could fix the problem, or someone with no government experience who's never been in there? 67% want someone who's never been in versus someone who might know what's going on.
And this is a reverse of everything I've seen in polling for 40 years about the presidency. And by the way, it's not what the New York Times reporters and others would like to say, and very conservative intellectuals. Oh, they're just the nativists, the crazy. No, it's the entire Republican Party is in revolt. And they made both.
This is the Democratic Party.
Let's
be clear.
The
Sanders vote is a large-scale repudiation of politics as usual and, to a very large extent, Hillary Clinton. People want a different kind of change. Republicans are more small government. On the Democratic side, it's redistribution. But what organizes the populist revolt is a revulsion with Washington, a revulsion with politics as usual, and a sense we need to clean house.
I think it's even bigger. I think it's a revulsion with the leadership class in America.
Yes, corruption.
It's corruption in Wall Street, business, academia, healthcare, the church, all of it. That the people are so sick, and it explains Trump. They see Trump as the sheriff who you can't buy off.
It would be incredible if either party actually took a nominee that was an actual political outsider.
By the way, Hillary
that would be
Sanders
really
beat
amazing.
her and ended up being the nominee, and Trump ended up being the nominee. What a statement about our politics of our time. And let me just say this. One of the things that people...
Hasn't been seen for many decades, yeah.
We haven't seen this for decades.
Right, absolutely.
But what we have here, 307,000... we found out 307,000 veterans died waiting to get into the VA system this week. A system that's totally broken.
So many problems, and people want to see a new approach.
And you know what? That's a moral issue. This is beyond the grasp of Beltway politicians who defend, and the media with them down there.
We have another moral issue we'll be talking